Greetings from Cybertron. This is SoundJack here with another episode of SoundJack's Rambles. And today I'm joined by Alyssa.
Hello.
And sadly, only Alyssa. I tried to schedule this podcast recording a few times to get a couple people from Steel City Bots here, but that just never ended up happening. But anyway, we're here today to talk about the Bumblebee movie, or Bumblebee, as it's called.
Yes.
Yes. So, if you somehow don't happen to be familiar with Bumblebee, it is the latest live-action Transformers film with a very debatable connection to the Michael Bay movies.
That's a good way to put it.
Yes.
That is a very good way to put it.
Here's how I say it's debatable. Everyone working on the film says it's a prequel. The movie itself says it's not a prequel.
Yeah.
That's how it's debatable.
Yes.
There are...
I agree.
Not getting into spoiler territory, there are references to the movies, but in the greater likelihood, those are more likely holdovers from when the script was supposed to be a prequel before they pushed the production back and re-scripted it halfway through.
Yeah. Also, probably before The Last Night came out, to be honest.
Now, I mean, this was originally supposed to come out in June with like test screenings in like March, and then they pushed it back. So it was whatever in production changes happened in response to The Last Night.
Oh.
So if they put in elements to make it distant from the movie, then maybe that means it's a sign that they realize we need to change. Like Transformers that transform and change their shape.
No. I mean, it's almost like the Bay movies aren't the best in the world.
Anywho, but the personal opinions aside, though granted those are the Bay movies being not good films are very common opinions, which I agree with. But this one, just quickly note, is not directed by Michael Bay.
No, it's not.
Who is it directed by? Do you know?
It's directed by I almost said Tragic. Travis Knight, the director of Kubo and the Two Strings. This is the most recent project he did. So this is his live action debut, I guess.
Yes.
But before then, he was working in the industry as an animator for Leica Studios, who's the studio behind Coraline, Paranorman, and other live action claymation movies.
Yes.
They might have seen. Actually, there's a new movie coming out from Leica. I think it's called Missing Link.
Okay. Yes,
right?
I have heard of that.
Yes. I've seen trailers for it. I've seen trailers for both of the movies that I've seen recently.
Nice.
Both Wreck-It Ralph and Bumblebee. I saw trailers for this movie.
Nice.
So it is definitely coming out. Anyway, tangent. Yeah, so it was directed by Travis Knight.
And guess what? He actually likes Transformers.
Yeah,
and it shows.
I didn't know that before watching this movie, but you can definitely tell that he at least respects Transformers as a property enough to be willing to make one of the robots a main character.
Yes.
With an actual story.
Yes.
As opposed to, I mean, let's face it, in the other Transformers movies, they're basically props. Like they're not even characters. They're just there. They're just lip service, really.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Like does Optimus Prime have a character? Does he?
His character is protect the humans and kill the Decepticons until about the fourth movie, where it starts to be like screw the humans, and then the fifth movie there's a little bit of kill the humans.
Great. It's almost like Optimus got more and more done with the movies as the time went on. Like it just like he was here for the first one. Second one, he was like, well, it could have just been a mistake. You know, who knows? Like maybe next time it'll be better. The third one, he's like, all right, you know.
I'm not gonna lie.
Try, and then fourth one's like, all right, you know what? I'm getting real done with this, and then fifth one's like, let's just we don't care. I'll just go.
You know what? You know what though? I'm not entirely unconvinced that's how his voice actor actually feels.
Fair. You know,
there was at least one interview with Peter Cullen. It was more so with the Prime Wars cartoons. Where he was talking about how he'd like to see the old Optimus Prime more.
Yeah.
The Optimus Prime that like was not such a strict stoic guy that like played basketball with his troops on the when there was downtime. The one that like used contractions.
The one who wasn't so full of himself and felt the need to exposit every chance he got.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So as you can tell, we don't actually like the original Bayverse movies all too much. So if you're coming here, looking for us to reaffirm your love of those movies, sorry, man.
Which is also kind of why wanted to get the Steel City Bots people, because they at least like them more than us.
Which mystifies me so much. I still don't understand.
I mean,
I still don't understand.
Okay.
Like I guess I get it. If you're not reading, if you watch movies and you aren't really, if you allow yourself to sort of, I don't know, if you aren't really like, if you don't read into movies all that much, then I guess I can see how you would like them. And like, look, I'm not saying that like if you like these movies or if you like those movies, you're like dumb or something. There are plenty of movies that I like that I wouldn't say are good, or you know, or I can see flaws with them. I guess it's just I see so much. The movie, there's not enough good in the Transformers Bayverse movies for me to justify anything else. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like typically with a movie that's like kind of bad, that like I'll still like defend. Like typically I can point to something that connected with me or something that like was good about it that I liked. But in this case, like I don't know. But in this case, there's just everything, pretty much almost everything about the Transformers movies. I like every layer of it is just not that good. like the directing's not good, the editing, cinematography, the story.
The one thing I will give it is the movies do have very good soundtracks.
Yeah, but that's like kind of saying like, I don't know.
I'm not saying that makes the movies redeemable per se, but it's not
a hot mess. But at least they used nice colors.
I mean,
like,
yeah, but still,
good, like,
there was something.
Okay, yeah, I guess. I don't know. Like that's like, I'm not saying that like it doesn't take a lot to have good soundtracks, or that there isn't a lot of effort that goes into having good soundtrack, but like I don't even know if I think the soundtracks for these movies are actually all that good. I mean, like maybe they are, but like I don't think they're very memorable. They're not like John Williams scores, you know, or like Pirates of the Caribbean, or like a really cool instrumental, or even something like Baby Driver that has a really good like pop soundtrack that is used effectively, you know, like I don't know. I mean, granted, I also haven't spent all that much time with the Transformers Bayverse movies. Like, I've only actually seen the first one and the second one. I have not seen Dark of the Moon On.
Okay.
I haven't seen any of those because why would I go out of my way to see them?
Yeah.
Like I'm not really into the Transformers. Okay, well I can't really say I'm not into Transformers at this point.
Yeah.
But I also
You're welcome.
Look, it's okay. I'm not so okay. Another thing. So I guess the reason why we're talking about the Bayverse movies, by the way, when we're supposed to be talking about Bumblebee, is I guess it's because even though the Bumblebee movie doesn't take place in that universe, it's kind of hard to divorce it from the Bayverse movies. Like obviously these movies were made. They were involved in them in some way. I mean, Michael Bay is a producer, and while he probably had next to no influence on this movie, despite the fact that he's a listed producer, it's still definitely it's still the same studio. You know, it's still at least in concept was supposed to be part of the universe.
Yeah.
Of the movies. So I don't think it's possible to really talk about Bumblebee as a individual condensed movie because so much of your perception of this movie is going to be influenced by the paratext of the previous movies, I think.
That's very true. But I do think we should hop into talking about stuff about the Bumblebee movie itself and jumping into spoiler territories. But before we get into there, do you think this is a movie worth seeing?
Worth seeing, just like in general?
In general.
Yeah, I think so. I would say overall, like, unlike, I think the last couple movies we've been talking about on this channel where I've had a lot of problems talking about it, I think very simply I can say that this movie is just pretty solid. You know, like it's a good flick. I'd say I'd give it like a B+ grade if I had to give it a grade. It has good writing, it has good characters, it has good cinematography. It's not pushing any boundaries, it's not gonna wow you, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it takes the setup it has and it does well with it, is what I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say if you're looking for the best, like if you're looking to like see a really good movie, like maybe not this one. But I also don't think that, like, put it this way, I would definitely be willing to see this movie again.
Yeah.
You know, which is a good sign.
Yes.
It's definitely, I don't think it's like a classic in the making, but it's definitely worth your time. It's like it's like a nice little flick. You know, a nice kind of thing you can pop on and whenever and just kind of chill with. It's solid in that regard. So I would definitely see, if theater wise, I think it's definitely worth your money. I don't think, you know, spending a full movie ticket price is a bad purchase.
Yeah, and also, if this movie makes money, then Paramount will realize we want movies like this. Yeah, and they'll make more.
Yeah, I think the most important thing about this movie, at least in general, or the thing that gives me the most hope, is that this movie, to me, is a good starting point for better Transformers movies down the line.
Yes.
Like this movie definitely is a proof of concept, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like it proves that you can make a good, solid movie out of the Transformers universe if you have talented people behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Michael Bay isn't like a total hack. He's certainly
you are
enough, I guess, but what?
You sounded so pained when you said that.
I mean, like, look, I'm not a film critic. I like to try and think that I am able to judge, at least on a base level, whether or not a movie has good talent, you know. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that, like, I think that Michael Bay sometimes has passable things. Oh my god, it is really hard for me to compliment him.
Yeah.
We'll put it this way: probably the movie of his that I like the most would probably be Armageddon.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the only movie of his that I've sat through and said I'm not cringing every second.
Yeah.
It's still kind of cringeworthy. And it still has some bonkers scenes in it. But I don't know. I don't know. Anyway.
On to Bumblebee. Spoiler territory ahead.
Yes. So,
So, where do you want to start?
I don't know. There's a lot to start with here.
Let's start from the beginning, and by that, we're on Cybertron.
Okay, so you just want to start. Okay, so actually, I think this would be a good place to start talking about, like, I think Travis Knight.
Yes.
The reason why I want to bring him up is because I think the fact that he was an animation director really works well. Like, it pays off a lot in this movie. Like, you can tell that this guy has animated things and is thinking of the animated characters and sort of from a movement perspective that I feel like Michael Bay never did. I think from those first shots on Cybertron, I immediately was like, this might be a good movie.
Yeah.
Like, I was being like, this might be an actually good movie, you guys. Like, it might not just, it's not just like some weird stuff. It's like, it might be some actual good movies. And, you know, you see all your favorite Transformers. Now, I'm not a total noob when it comes to Transformers, obviously, and I was able to actually recognize quite a few of the cast that we saw on Cybertron. I even recognized Brawn.
Yes, she recognized Brawn. I'm like, what?
Which
Brawn?
is, like, so weird to me because he hasn't been in any media that I've ever seen ever.
Wrong.
Ever. Wrong? Which one?
He was in the Transformers, the movie, the 86 one.
Oh, yeah.
He was on the shuttle.
Like, probably for 5 seconds, right?
Yeah, he was on the shuttle, and then the Decepticons attacked him, and he was like, Megatron!
Yeah, in the background. Also, like, there were, like, 5 million characters in that movie. So, like, you know, Brawn being one of them.
Yeah.
Like,
not 5 million. Admittedly, like, most of the Decepticons were just Seekers.
Oh, yeah. Like, I figured they were... I think the Seekers, I couldn't pick out between the characters because the Seekers all look very similar.
Yeah.
Because they're all just Starscream but painted different colors.
Yeah. Hey, one of them had a cone head.
Oh, well, excuse me. Sorry, Seekers. Anyway...
I mean, that's what they are.
I'm sorry. I'm just roasting every Transformer at this point. Like, no one's safe from me.
Nope.
Anyway, so, yeah, I was surprised. I don't necessarily think that I saw it, and I was like, oh, that's Brawn. I was like, well, he's a squat dude, and Brawn's a pretty popular squat dude. Squat boy. So I guess he's Brawn.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I pretty much recognize every character except for some of the Seekers and Wheeljack. I missed Wheeljack, but
yeah, somehow.
What I liked about
somehow,
I don't know. but aside from that, like, ignoring my ability, like, even if I had no clue what Transformers was, or I knew Transformers as much as I would assume the average person would know, which is probably Optimus Prime and Starscream
and Bumblebee,
maybe Megatron if they're lucky. Oh yeah, Bumblebee, maybe Megatron if they're lucky. Even if I didn't know who these characters were, you can definitely tell that they're all unique individuals.
Yes.
Like, you can look at them and say, oh, okay, these are all characters as part of a universe. They're not just some bots. So that was kind of nice for me, I think. And then, I think the other thing that, I liked so I know that there's probably going to be a lot of fans who would have preferred for the movie to have been entirely on Cybertron. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, people who don't want any human characters in these movies and just want it to be solely focused on the Transformers, and kind of the way the comics are, like,
Yeah.
Transformers based, or even stuff like Cyberverse. Now, granted, I've only just started watching Cyberverse, so I don't know if humans show up. They're on Earth, so if they
Okay,
show up,
I'll tell you
but...
I'll tell you one thing about Cyberverse.
Sure.
There's one scene where one car drives by and there's one kid that you see. That is the only human you ever see in the first season of Cyberverse.
How?
I
They're
don't.
on Earth. They're on present day Earth. Right?
I don't know.
Like, even the Himalayas are populated. Even, like, they're in the desert, but they drive on roads. There's a road, like Bumblebee, opening of
Anywho,
episode 1.
We'll talk about that when we get to Cyberverse in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, stay tuned for when I rant on end about Cyberverse. I haven't even watched all of it yet, so who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway, so like my point is that like I can see the desire for people to be like, I want just Transformers. I don't want any of these human characters. But honestly, I feel like human characters is a good move for this movie because, again, general audience perspective, if you're coming into this movie and you don't really have like a parasocial bond with the Transformers already, you're having a human character is the best choice because people can connect with that a little easier than they can with a robot alien who's also a car sometimes.
Yep.
Not that you can't have a character who is a robot but also a car sometimes be a good character on their own right, but it's a harder sell, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Anyway, so I think the CGI characters are definitely treated a lot better in this movie. I think that the cinematography is great. I can see what's happening.
Yes.
Like, I can see, like, every time there was a fight scene in this movie, I knew what was happening. I knew what was going on. I knew which characters were fighting who. I saw it, and it was shot well, which is good, because in the Babe movies, I know, again, bringing those back up, the shots of all those action sequences are so bad. I mean, some of them are fine. Like, some of them you can tell. I think in a lot of the highway sequences, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when there's a car chase or something in those movies, I think there are some shots that you can tell what's going on. But like for the most part, especially in the scenarios of the robots fighting each other, it can be so hard to tell what's going on. And it just feels like a muddled mess. It's like, where is thing?
Yes.
I don't know. Because the way the action's framed is so bad. And I think, okay, so I don't know if I've made this clear on the channel. I hope I probably have. And I think if you've been listening along with us for a while, then you probably will know this. But I'll just say it. I'm definitely not a G1 purist or whatever. I have absolutely no nostalgic ties to G1 or Transformers in general. So I'm not here. I'm not coming at. I'm not saying this because I have some vendetta against newer designs or anything, but I think these designs for the characters in this movie are much better than the Bayverse movie designs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the problem with the Bayverse designs, in my opinion, is that they're just overly detailed. Like, there's just way too much going on. Now, as I've said before, I think that the Bayverse designs work really well as like still images or like toys. Yeah. You know, like you have the detail. Like on a toy, it looks better because it's a still statue with lots of details that are interesting. But in an animated movie that's action oriented, having a character with a busy design coupled with really messy cinematography just makes for an overall poor viewing experience because you get lost. Mm-hmm. With these designs, they're just a lot smoother and more simplified, but they're still detailed, you know? Like, I still saw, like, pistons and car parts and, like, complexities within the designs. They just weren't, like... They were still, like... They were detailed enough, but not too detailed.
Yes.
And I think that's good. And like, yeah, I can understand why a fan might be upset that they're drawing from older designs and it seems kind of stale. But I feel like there's more to the decision of the designs, the way they are, rather than just appealing to 80s nostalgia. Now, I'm sure that's part of the reason, but I also feel like practically from a movie making perspective and a how do I convey this character perspective, it makes a lot more sense to have a bit more of a simplified design.
Yeah.
You know, like and I'm not saying that the Bayverse designs couldn't have worked. I feel like they would have only worked if there hadn't been as much action, maybe, or if the cinematography were better.
Yeah, I do. But I do agree with a lot of that. I also just want to throw my own point in terms of like reusing older designs and designs getting stale. I have admittedly thought that. However, I have realized that personally, as long as the media those designs are appearing in are good, I do not care. You could have new, interesting designs, but if the media, the story itself is bad or garbage, I'm not going to care about those designs because I'm not going to care about those stories or the characters that are involved in them as much.
Yeah, and that's kind of the same thing, at least for me, when it comes to extended lore, you know, in franchises. Like, I really only care about extended lore bits in any franchise if the franchise itself has a good, solid background.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if, like I, like, and I mean, sometimes I don't really go out of my way to see, like I feel like what if you have a good solid base, I feel like you can then worry about details. But I feel like if people focus a lot on those details first before they get to the like foundations, like it's kind of like building a house, being all like, we're gonna have the best shutters and the best colors, and like the staircases are all gonna have like these nice like fancy posts, but while you're planning all that, you're not thinking, you know, maybe we should make sure that the cement filling of the foundation is good. Because like if the foundation of the house is crappy, well, it's not gonna matter if the actual aesthetic of the house is nice. You're still got a bad house.
Yeah.
Anyway, tangent. I'm bad at this.
You're good. You're fine.
So, but now to moving on from other things, I think we wanted to talk more about now Charlie and the main story.
Yes.
So I really like Charlie as a character. I'm also really happy that they have a female lead.
Yes.
For this movie.
Who is not hypersexualized.
No, she's not. I don't even know if she is really. I mean, like she's sexualized in the same way of like just being a teenager is, I guess.
Yeah.
But she's not. The camera isn't oogling her.
No.
You know, she's not a pinup. You're not supposed. The camera isn't framing her as a sex object. She's definitely here as a character.
Yes. Which is something that is very good to hear because of how much of that crap we got in Bay movies.
Oh my god. The Bay movies are notorious for over-sexualizing their main character.
But anyway, we've talked enough about the Bays. Let's talk about the goods.
Yeah. I really do like Charlie. I think that she's a good character. I have a small theory that this character is sort of supposed to be like a take on Michaela from the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like sort of reimagining Michaela's character.
She's a mechanic.
As like an actual like sort of taking those aspects of Transformers that aren't complete garbage and then like being like, let's actually make them into a good movie.
Yes.
Like Charlie definitely shares a lot with Michaela. She is a mechanic. She has a troubled family. She comes from a troubled family. And she also has, and it makes so much more sense for her to be the one who has Bumblebee instead of literal walking idiot Sam Witwicky.
Yes.
Like, it just narratively, it makes more sense. I mean, the narrative itself is just way tighter.
Yes.
It has an actual story it's trying to tell, which is great, and I like it.
Speaking of, just to quickly throw this in, speaking of walking idiot, Mimo.
Oh my god, Mimo. So,
like, he's a good character, but like, and I like him. I like the Mimo. He's good. Mm-hmm. He's a good bumbling idiot sidekick.
Yes.
He just doesn't serve the story at all.
No. That's kind of the problem with Mimo. Mimo is pretty. You could probably cut Mimo and like nothing would change really. Like, you still have a strong story.
The most he is used for is kind of like to help Charlie externalize some of her thoughts or be a voice for Bumblebee. Like in the scene where the dude that she spilled the lemonade on wants her to dive off the cliff, Mimo helps edge her on like Bumblebee would have, and try to even a little bit with his actions and music choices, which sidetrack here. The use of the touch was very good and did not feel like it was a fan service.
Like, obviously, that's a really great moment of fan service, too.
Yeah, it is a great moment of fan service.
It's not intrusive. You know,
yes, that's what I meant to say. It's
like
not intrusive.
The movie stops in its tracks and be like, hey, guys, remember this?
Yeah.
Hey, 80s fans.
Yeah.
Who may or may not be watching this movie. You remember this a little bit?
Yeah.
It works even if you don't, because you got the touch, you got the power is a line that references Bumblebee saying, hey, you can do this.
Yes.
And it came out, like, this movie's set in 89, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
87.
So 87. So it would have been out at the time.
Yeah.
So it's not like the movie, like, it's not like, yeah, so it makes sense. It's not like it's a song choice that wouldn't have made sense at the time, or it's not like completely random. It fit the film moment. So I thought that was really funny and really cool. Nice moment of fan service that wasn't overly obtrusive.
Yep.
Yeah, Mimo really doesn't do all that much in this movie.
Yeah.
He's not even there in the climax.
Yeah, he just comes in on the scooter, just says hi to...
disappears for the last act of the movie.
Well, like, it's explained where he goes.
No, yeah, he doesn't just disappear, but like...
Unlike some of the characters in some of the other movies.
He's just not at the final climactic battle, he's just gone. And then he literally is just like, I'm here now.
What I miss?
You know, I'm glad they made fun of that.
Can you call my parents, Mr. Government Man that has captured me earlier?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, John Cena.
Oh my, okay. Funny story. When I was watching this movie for the first time, I say that like I've watched it multiple times, which I haven't.
Yet.
Are you gonna... Yeah, don't worry, guys. This is gonna become like a watch party thing. Anyway, yeah. When I was watching this in the theater, and because like John Cena, like I forgot John Cena was in this movie. So when the guy comes in and he pulls off his helmet and it's John Cena, I was like, John Cena? It was literally the meme. It was John Cena.
Do.
Like, I expected the music to play. I was like, oh my god. They got me. They didn't mean to get me, but they got me.
But
in all honesty, though, I really think he did a pretty good job in this movie.
Yeah. Throughout the movie, I did not think every time this character appeared on screen, I'm like, oh, that's John Cena. I'm just like, oh, it's his character. It's that character.
Yeah.
Kind of like Dwayne The Rock. Like Dwayne Johnson in his movies, like, you know what Dwayne Johnson looks like, but he does good enough job acting that like you see his character, and when you're watching the movie, you're not like, oh, it's Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, I will admit, and I mean, I'll say this about Dwayne Johnson too. As much as I love him, I don't think he doesn't disappear into his role the same way other actors do.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like, I feel like on some level I'm always kind of aware that it's John Cena or Dwayne Johnson that I'm looking at. I feel like the only time I've ever really been able to sort of let them disappear is when Dwayne Johnson played Maui in Moana.
Yeah, but that's also a voice role, and that's easier. Okay.
But I think that's mostly because I wasn't actually looking at him.
Yeah.
So I was able to, you know what I mean?
Did you think it was Dwayne The Rock Johnson?
I was constantly reminded that, oh, it's Dwayne Johnson. I feel like if John Cena was in a voice role, I feel like I'd feel the same way. But yeah. But I mean, I feel like all things considering, I think he did a good job.
Yes.
He definitely was playing. Yeah. I think he was good as the villain.
His action beats made sense.
Yeah. Yep.
He did very good.
Yeah, he did good. He did good.
He was a good bad guy.
Yeah.
Speaking of bad guys, let's talk about the bad guys, or the bad guy robots.
The bad robots.
Yes.
So
I want to start with Blitzwing really quick, because like, if for whatever reason you decide to spoil yourself, didn't see the movie yet and wanted to listen to this, Blitzwing does nothing.
He doesn't. He just, honestly, I have no idea why. I mean, like, I get it. They wanted to get to have something to get rid of his voice.
Yes.
But to be honest, you could have had Bumblebee lose his voice just from the impact on the crash on Earth.
Yeah. Well,
you didn't need to have a Decepticon come in and rip it out himself. Like it. I don't think it didn't make narrative sense to do that. And to be fair, the whole ruckus establishes why John Cena feels the way he does about Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Or the Decepticons, like the robots in general.
Yes.
So it's not like a wasted beat.
No,
it's not like
it's not wasted. I'm just saying that overall, Blitzwing.
He shows up and does nothing. He just destroys Bumblebee and leaves.
Yeah. Well, no.
Where does he go? Does he die?
Yeah, Bumblebee blew him the crap up.
Oh, that's right. He did. I forgot about that.
Bumblebee blew him up with incredibly explosive violence.
Movie, which is why I like completely forgot about that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
He just Blitzwing kind of roughs him up a bit and then dies.
Yeah.
A+.
It was a really good. It was a really good looking scene. And again,
or Cliff Jumper, R.I.P.
Yeah, rip Cliff Jumper.
Rip.
Rip him in half.
Oh, well, more like saw him in half.
Yeah.
Cut him in half?
Cut him in half, yeah. Well, granted, it wasn't a perfect halfway cut because he had already lost an arm, but, you know.
You know what I mean.
It was down the middle. Anyhow. But yeah, the more important villainous robots, Dropkick and Shatter.
It was funny when I was looking at them. I was like, I don't recognize these guys.
Which is the
I'm sure they're like. I felt so dumb. I was like, there's got to be some sort of important. Like, how do I not know who these people are? Like, I feel like I've seen enough Transformers media that any major villain I should be able to recognize. But then Michael told me that they're actually original characters for this movie. So
because when it was written as a prequel, this was definitely one of those movies where like, oh hey, every character that doesn't appear in the rest of the series has to die, kind of like Rogue One.
Oh yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah,
that makes sense now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anywho, let's talk about Shatter and Dropkick. Let's also mention like Shatter was voiced by Angela Bassett, which
I did not recognize her voice.
Yeah.
I feel like I should have, because Angela Bassett is such a big name actor, but like she totally sold it. She sold me.
Yes. She sold me. Oh yes. The very very nice character dynamic between the two of them.
Yeah.
Drop kicks the dude that's like, I want to kill and beat up everyone, and Shatter's like, now patience. Let's think smartly about this. Then you can kill them with violence.
Yeah, she's sort of the calming influence to dropkick nature.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that they were pretty good villains. It's it's also just it was, I mentioned this to Michael earlier when I was talking to him about this movie before we recorded, but I also find it a little bit strange and kind of like really when we realize that Shatter has a pinkish red color scheme and Kickback has a blue color scheme.
Dropkick.
Oh my god, Dropkick has a blue color scheme, and I'm just like, really, like blue for boy, pink for girl.
It's a very strong red. It's a very strong red.
Yeah, like I guess.
I understand where you're coming from, but holy crap, I do not care because it's so much better than we've got.
It's a nitpick. It's
because we've gotten good female.
Sucks because how dare they?
Yeah.
How dare they use colors that reinforce gender roles? Like I'm not giving this movie a hard time because of that. There's something I noticed, and I was like, okay, yeah. I guess if you're trying to simplify it, that's a way to do it.
But hey, we actually got a very strong female character that is a full-fledged transformer in a live-action film, which
although I would prefer, I would hope that someday we'd get that on the hero side.
Yeah.
Someday.
Well, hey, okay. Strong female robot transformer at all, because who did we have? We had the 3 RC bikes that did nothing.
Yep.
There was Alice.
Oh, Alice needs to go die in a hole.
And then there was Quintessa in The Last Night, who didn't even transform but called herself the Prime of Life. And I don't know how that fits in when it's supposedly that there's only 7 primes and the 6 of them sacrifice themselves to seal the Matrix away from the Fallen in the Revenge of the Fallen. So
who even knows?
I don't.
So, well, anyway, yeah.
But anyway,
no, I do definitely appreciate the fact that there's an actual like character amongst the Transformers when it comes to females, and I do hope that this is precedent for like more of them. And I love how the writers didn't feel like they needed to explain why there's a female Transformer.
Yes.
Like yeah, we don't need to explain it. We can just have a woman and it's fine. We
had RC on Cybertron.
Yep, we did.
But like that was a cameo as much as like Wheeljack and Brawn.
It was a very brief cameo. Yeah. But she was there.
Yep.
She at least exists.
Yes.
She had a line.
Yes.
Which is more than we can say about her in Revenge of the Fallen.
Well, no, she did have.
Oh, she did have a line? It's been years since I've seen Revenge of the Fallen.
I
don't remember the last time I saw it.
Well, it depends upon how you classify them, because they're either all 3 of the bikes are RC that are just one hive mind consciousness, or they're actually all individual characters. But that also depends upon what stories you're following or whatever. I think the movie itself says that all
depends on what cycle of the moon it is.
Yeah, I think the movie itself basically establishes that they're all RC. So technically they do have multiple lines. Technically.
Well.
Anywho.
I don't know.
Anyway. That doesn't matter because we're talking about Bumblebee. And it
we
is
are talking
good.
about Bumblebee. So, yeah, I am really happy. I don't know if I thought the Decepticons were really good.
Yes.
I mean, I don't really know if they left that much of an impression on me the same way other villains in movies might.
That's fair.
But look, it's not like it's Count Olaf from A Series of Unfortunate Events where he's just very memorable and charismatic, and you're like, I'm not forgetting this guy ever.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they weren't totally not threatening either. They're just they're serviceable bad guys.
Yes.
They did their job. They did it well.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining.
Yes.
And then I also, I thought Bumblebee was really expressive too.
Yes.
I really appreciated that.
Yes.
Like, which is important for a movie like this because he doesn't have a voice, and even though he speaks through his radio,
it takes him like half the movie to learn to do that. Yeah,
and they really, you can literally every moment of the movie, you know how he's feeling.
Yes.
Which is great, because granted, like I said, it's been a while since I've seen any of the Transformers movies, but I don't really know if I could say that any of the Transformers in the Bay movies were ever that expressive.
Yeah.
Especially not Bumblebee. Bumblebee is just such a non-character in the Transformers movies. Also, you know what's great?
What?
Bumblebee doesn't pee on anyone.
Yes.
Yay!
Yes.
Isn't it incredible that Bumblebee not peeing on anyone is like a miracle in these movies?
Yeah.
He pees on more people than you'd think.
Yeah.
What?
Greater than 0 is too many.
Yes. Yes, I agree. So, yeah, excuse me. I do really appreciate the fact that no, he does not pee on anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think he's very expressive. He definitely has he has a good personality. He's curious and fun, but he's not stupid.
No.
Which is good.
Yeah, he does go into the house and breaks a lot of things. But that's not necessarily because he was just stepping on everything. He was like curious about stuff, and then something happens, and he accidentally knocks something over, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, and he was definitely at least trying to be careful.
Yeah, it just failed.
Yeah, which is fine. And yeah, I do like it. I think that also really important, Charlie and Bumblebee have a lot of good chemistry on screen together. In more ways than one, if you know what I mean.
Alyssa, you should have watched Lindsay Ellis reviewing this.
I did watch it. You don't think I watch all of Lindsay Ellis's content? You gotta be kidding me, Michael. I'm just kidding. Okay, so backtracking, for those of you who don't know, and you should definitely watch this right now, Lindsay Ellis, who's a YouTuber that I'm a huge fan of, and Michael is a big fan of her now. I got him into her. She's great. Anyway, she recently did a crossover episode with Andre the Black Nerd of Black Nerd Comedy, and they did a review of this movie, and she brought up all of the comparisons to Shape of Water, and oh my god, I can't see this movie the same way now.
Yeah.
Oh my god. She was like, just.
I'll be gentle.
I'll be. I was just, oh my god, and the whole part, and then it's there's a scene where she's under the water with Bumblebee.
Yep.
Oh my, this movie is maybe one step away from being an actual, honest to god, she might do the monster.
Yeah. Which makes me more annoyed that she doesn't go with Bumblebee at the end of the movie.
Are you saying that you would have wanted them to actually date?
No, but all I'm saying is, slightly changing topic. The only reason Charlie doesn't go with Bumblebee is because she couldn't be there because when this was originally written as the prequel.
Right.
She couldn't be there. But, and I also want to bring this up now. You're trying to tell me Bumblebee, if this was in continuity with the Bay movies, the bot who changes his alt mode every 2 years to suit the newest Camaro,
right,
stays in the same 77 Camaro alt mode for 30 years? I don't think so.
No.
20
no,
years.
I don't think so.
20
either.
years. 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
Yeah. 20 years. Anyway, no, he would never. He'd never. But back to more important things.
More important things being
like
Bow Chicka Wow Wow.
But yeah, I mean, yes, but like the thing about it is we can make that comparison because there's actually good chemistry between them.
Oh yeah, no.
There's genuine.
Look, I don't know. I'm like I don't think that subtext is. I mean, it could be.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, like they could just be really good friends.
Yeah, but like it's. I mean, chemistry. By chemistry, I don't necessarily mean like just romantic.
Yes.
Chemistry in this context means just any time two characters in a story work off of each other well.
Yes.
Like I feel like I can say that I'm trying to think of a good comparison to make here. I feel like I could say something like I don't know, like it's not necessarily characters who have, like, I can say maybe two siblings have good on-screen chemistry, and no one would think I'm saying I think that they should like do it, you know?
Yeah.
like that's not what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. But
yeah, they do have really good on-screen chemistry. You can tell that they both value each other.
Yes. And truly, their interactions were so strong. There were 2 moments I teared up.
Yeah. Which ones were those?
When like Charlie like fully tells Bumblebee about like what happened with her father. Mm-hmm. And then like she's crying, and then she goes, and then Bumblebee comes to console her, and they hug. And then also when they're like saying their goodbyes. Mm-hmm. Those 2, I was just like, I wasn't like bawling, but I was like, the tears were welling up. I'm like, that's so sweet. There's actual affection really in a live action Transformers movie.
Right, like you couldn't say that about any of the Transformers movies. Other Transformers movies, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, did you ever cry?
No. At best, I cried in sadness about how bad it was.
Fair.
But never in the movie did I feel... Never in any of those movies did I feel any form of genuine emotion like that. Yeah, and it's really great. Also, it's really great to see a Transformers movie that's actually like based in like the characters care about each other and they're not always yelling at each other all the time. Age of Extinction in The Last Night, all they do is yell at each other.
That's all they do, yeah.
That's all they do. You haven't seen it, constant. But like they do. They do.
I mean, even in the first couple movies, they did that too.
Not always. Like the first movie, the main core didn't like yell at each other. Like at best, there were a couple of comments of like, "Oh, why'd you do that?" Like when Ratchet ran into the street, the wires, the telephone lines, and then Ironhide was like, "What are you doing?" Or, but like, yeah, Revenge of the Fallen, the twins were angry at each other a lot.
The twins are just absolutely gross, and I hate them. Yeah. Can we just petition for the twins to be digitally edited out of any subsequent re-releases of those movies? Just like, I don't care if it doesn't make any sense. Just cut them out.
I mean, it might help the plot.
Huh?
It might help the plot.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. I definitely think that the characters actually do like each other in this movie, and it makes it a more pleasant experience.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
Which is good.
Even the very little we get between Optimus and Bumblebee, you can tell there's a connection.
Yeah, they actually think of each other in a positive light.
Yes.
Which is good.
Yes. God. I'm so starved for it in a live action film.
I know.
Yeah.
It's incredible how we've gone so long without actually having a good movie.
Yeah.
In this particular franchise, at least.
Yeah. Is there anything else specific you wanted to talk about?
I actually wanted to mention my 2 favorite shots in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not something that I say often. Like, I feel like I don't talk a lot or as much about editing when we talk about movies because, I mean, one, I'm not, like, a film editing expert. It's not like... I feel like I can speak a bit more to technique in something like a book
mm-hmm.
because I studied writing for 4 years. So, I feel like if I can point out, oh, that's a good line, that's a bad line,
mm-hmm.
or that's a good usage of first person or something.
Yeah.
Because I have more of the backdrop for it. But I feel like, considering the fact that the majority of my YouTube diet nowadays are all film video essays, not just Lindsay Ellis, not just her. It's that she's brought me to others. Yeah. Actually, we're all pretty good. I think. If you want some recommendations, hit me up on Twitter. Anyway, I think because of that, plus just my own viewing, I feel like I can at least be confident if I watch a movie and I can be like, well, this is bad editing. Yeah. Even if I don't know why, I can at least probably tell you the editing was, or like I can at least in a general sense get better. But anyway, because the movie in this case had a pretty basic plot, I was I wasn't necessarily tuned out. Like, I wasn't bored, but I was at least able to devote like some time to actually observing the cinematography. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense, because the story was going places that I was expecting. Yeah. So I didn't need to devote as much energy to keeping track of what was happening because I was like, okay, I kind of know where this is going. I'm still enjoying my ride, but anyway. So the 2 shots that I noticed that I thought was like, wow, these are some good shots and show that this movie actually is trying to do good. The first one I'll mention because it's a bit more obvious. It happens at the end of the movie when Charlie and Bumblebee are parting ways, and then Bumblebee drives away. And the last shot from Bumblebee's point of view that we get is of him. It's a shot of his side view mirror, and you see Charlie in the side view mirror, it also has in the shot the thing on the side view mirrors that says objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. And that shot got me. It got me because, like, it's just a really good symbolic thing, right? Like, he's driving away, but she's still closer, even though they're far apart. It's not that deep, you know. Like, it doesn't take. You don't need to be a film scholar to like decode what that's saying. Yeah. Or what that's supposed to mean. But like, I feel like it's still a good shot. Like, it's still a really good symbolic and really touching way to like show how Bumblebee is feeling towards her, even without any dialogue, you know? Yeah. Which is great. And then the next shot that I also thought was really good was, it was in the base. It was in the military base. Mm-hmm. In the middle of the movie where John Cena and his superior officer are talking to each other, and they're overlooking the Decepticons as they work to try and find Bumblebee.
Yeah.
And so the blocking for the shot is you have John Cena, superior officer, on one side of a plexiglass window. They're like in an office, and then on the other side of the plexiglass window is like the workspace, and the Decepticons are like the Decepticons are in the background, and they're like the main things. They're on like either side.
Mm-hmm.
And in the shot, like the shot is just looking at the Decepticons. You don't see John Cena or his superior officer, but you see their reflections in the mirror that's separating them from the Decepticons. But their faces are reflected in parallel to the Decepticons. And it's clever because at this moment they're talking about how they don't actually trust the Decepticons, and that once they've done what they're doing, they're just going to kill them.
Yeah.
Like, we don't care. We're just using them because they're improving our technology.
Yep.
Like, I think the line itself is like, let them find their fugitive and then we'll have them or something.
Yeah.
And that's clever because the cinematography and the staging is saying that John Cena and the superiors are reflections of the Decepticons themselves.
Yep.
Because their faces are literally above, like they're actually set so that the reflections are above the Decepticons.
Yep.
So they're mirroring the Decepticons themselves because they are also not thinking about others, or they're willing to just think of them as disposable and only useful for their own needs, the way the Decepticons are thinking of the humans as disposable and only using them for their own needs.
Yeah.
And like when I saw that, like, and I didn't really notice that while I was watching the movie, but I was thinking about, I wonder if there's like any good, like I was just thinking about the movie and I was just turning over my head, and then I realized that shot and I was like, oh, like that's some like subtle. I mean, I don't know how like clever it is. Like, I don't know if like a better film critic would be like, that's really hack and like kind of basic, which, you know, it might be.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, like, I feel like it's subtle enough that I didn't immediately think that as soon as I was like watching the movie. I had to like think about it.
Yeah.
But I thought that was really good. Like that's, and I think that if you do watch any like film critic or film criticism, I feel like that kind of subtlety filmmaking is what really, for me at least, is evidence that elevates this movie on just a basic technical level from the Transformers movies. Like, I don't think there are any shots in the Transformers movies that have that kind of good resonant depth at all. Mm-hmm. Like the only one, the big one that everyone looks to is like Megan Fox being shot like she's a Victoria's Secret's model when she's talking to Shia LaBeouf's character in the first movie.
Yeah.
But that scene is an example, is emblematic of just how, you know, Michael Bay's shot in his filmmaking does not jive with the story and what the characters are saying.
Yes.
And like, it's funny, all of the shots that I think of when I think of the Transformers movies tend to be ones that are related to product placement too.
Yeah.
Like the Bud Light in this, or like a scene of like, oh look, it's Transformium, and there's Beats by Dre, like, you know. Yes. So like, there's that you know, that's another aspect of Michael Bay's filmmaking. So I don't know. So I feel like that scene kind of, to me, is really good because it's actually using, like, actually trying to tell the story. Yeah. You know, it's a good shot. It's like good syntax and diction in a story. It's like good gameplay in a video game. Yes. You know, like, and it's not even just good gameplay. Like, it's gameplay that functions to tell a story, which also is kind of rare in video games. Let's be real. But that's another topic for another day. Yes. I could go on a whole tangent. If you like, there are some games that I've played where I could talk for hours about how the gameplay of this game feeds into the story and narrative it's trying to tell.
Yeah.
Which I can't say about some other games that I've played. Like, I can't really say that about Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
But I can say that about something. Anyway, off topic.
Yeah.
So those were just two shots that I thought were really great, and I feel like they were really, really stood out to me when I was watching the movie. And I feel like the fact that I was able to remember those two individual frames kind of tells that this movie has good cinematography and does do good things.
Oh, yes.
When you pay attention.
Oh,
and
yes.
It's not like a sort of thing, well, if I strip it away, it's nothing. So
yeah. I also just slightly, this isn't like, I'm sure this wasn't intentional, but like, do you remember what the scientist's name was?
The scientist? You mean the guy who got vaporized?
Yeah.
No.
His name was Powell. You should recognize that name from Transformers. Animated.
Oh my god.
It's not the same guy in full name. It's not the same guy in full name.
Yeah.
But in my head, I think he dies purely because of all of the bad karma that Powell made for himself.
Yeah, Powell. Yeah, no. Yeah, you're right. I was like, when he said Powell, I was like, I know I recognize that name.
Yeah.
It was in a Transformers thing, but I didn't remember it until you mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do remember Powell.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to bring that up because I find that slightly amusing in my head.
Yeah, no, it is.
Actually, John Cena's character is also a Transformers reference.
Oh, really?
His last name is Burns, which could be a reference to Rescue Bots, who the Rescue Bots work with the Burns family.
Oh, I see.
Again, not the same name, but
I mean, that's a little, to me, that's probably a little bit of probably less likely, but I mean, I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah.
I mean, if it turned out that was the case.
If we had a Powell and a Burns, I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, again, maybe coincidence, but like, the guy actually cares about Transformers. Maybe he paid attention in the years since he was a child.
Yeah. And then, I also wanted to quickly mention that I found it really interesting that the screenwriter, well, for one, the screenwriter for this movie, there was only one screenwriter, which is unusual for a Transformers movie because I think only one other Transformers movie has one credited screenwriter, and that is Age of Extinction.
Yes.
I think I know this only because I looked it up because I wanted to confirm it to myself. It wasn't because like I said, I've never watched Age of Extinction, so like I can't speak to how good that script is, but
yeah.
But that's the movie that has Romeo and Juliet scene in it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Great. Can't wait to have a podcast about that movie. Woohoo! I look forward to. Anyway, yeah, I really love. Yeah, so it's really interesting how not only is this one of the few movies in the Transformers universe that has one credited screenwriter, but it's also the first and only Transformers property, I'm pretty sure, that has a credited female screenwriter at all, right? Or have there been like episodes of Transformers written?
There have been episodes of Transformers written purely by females.
Okay.
Most.
But it is definitely the first movie written by them.
First movie. Granted, there's only been 6 beforehand.
Right.
There are definitely. I'm trying to remember. There were definitely episodes of Robots in Disguise 2015 that were female written.
Yep.
There's definitely episodes of Cyberverse.
Okay.
Animated, I'm pretty sure was always the same people.
Okay.
and there weren't any female writers on the staff, so I don't think for animated.
Okay.
I would doubt the Unicron trilogy. I think Beast Wars and maybe G1 had a couple, but don't quote me on those. I can definitely say Robots in Disguise and Cyberverse for sure. And also, female writers have had a strong presence in IDW.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm not trying to say that. So okay, Christina Hodge is definitely not the first, but yeah. I think she's definitely the fact that Christina, and I let me tell you, I can definitely tell that a woman had a hand in writing this.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the fact that, like, look, I'm not trying to say that men are incapable of writing female characters well. That's obviously not the case. I really like Avatar: The Last Airbender, and that was written chiefly by two guys. So, like, I'm not trying to say that. But what I am saying is that, especially in Hollywood movies, it's really obvious when a female screenwriter is behind the helm.
Yeah.
And a female director, for that matter.
Yes.
And at least it's really like, I feel like I can tell a lot of times when a female is, or a woman is the person who's writing like a main female lead. Like I feel like the men tend to treat females a little differently, which makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a generalization, obviously, but
yeah.
I think she did a great job. And I also, I learned, because I was curious, and I looked her up, she's actually going to be, I think she's currently the screenwriter for Birds of Prey.
Oh.
The Harley Quinn movie that's slated to come out this year or next year or something.
Nice.
I think it's in pre-production right now.
Nice.
So that's really cool. And I do really hope that even if she doesn't get called back for Transformers, anything Transformers related, I do hope that she uses the success of this movie to get better screenwriting jobs and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Because I am here for women screenwriters in Hollywood. There are so few.
Yes.
I will take any of it. Also, I just wanted to point that out because I like making the fanboy sector that hates women wilt.
Yes.
Like, yeah,
absolutely.
A good movie was written by a woman, guys.
Do it.
Yeah. Come at me.
Yeah.
Check it out. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Also, other thing I wanted to say before anything else, I'm very happy that Memo and Charlie did not end up together by the end of the movie.
They're definitely hinting at it.
I mean, yeah, they weren't like, oh, they're not.
They didn't like start making out
but
on.
They didn't have them kiss. They didn't solidify the relationship. They sort of had her be like, yeah, we're not there yet. Like.
They didn't have her making out. They didn't have them making out under the sunset on the roof of a car.
Yeah, no, they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Like I think that I feel like they understood that like they weren't there yet, and that's great, and I'm really happy about that.
Yeah.
Because so that to me was really cool.
Yes. Before we wrap this up, I do want to briefly mention an interesting article that came out.
Sure.
Someone recently posted to the boards on a forum, on a TF forum, about what they saw at the test screening back in March before the heavy rewrites happened.
Oh. Okay.
So if you're curious, firstly, the movie actually, after a very quick voiceover narration from Bumblebee in space, we then immediately cut into the chase between Sector 7 and Bumblebee.
Huh.
There was no Cybertron. Bumblebee, according to the movies, had been on Earth for decades at that point.
Oh, I see.
So they were just in the middle of chasing him. Never a crash land. it was reshot to include Bumblebee just happening to land in the middle of their training site.
Gotcha.
Also, a lot of John Cena's dialogue was rewritten. In the original cut, he was very serious, but in this, they gave him a bit of humor.
Okay.
Because at some point along the line, it was dropped that like Cena had a friend that was killed by as the first movie described them, the NBEs, the non-biological extraterrestrials.
And that's why he doesn't trust them.
Yeah.
I feel like that weakens his character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel like because like, I mean, obviously they didn't really focus all that much on the idea of prejudice, but
yeah,
you definitely get the impression in this movie that John Cena. I mean, because John Cena literally goes after like Bumblebee. There really isn't much reason why he goes after Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he lands. I mean, yeah, he lands in there, and he's suspicious.
He doesn't know what's going on. What the heck it is?
But like, he doesn't really have any reason to be like, let's kill it.
Yeah.
You know.
A couple.
So I feel like that's really interesting, and I feel like giving him like this sort of revenge kind of thing kind of cheapens his redemption. You know? At least to me.
Yeah. And it would have all been off screen. There'd just been dialogue mentioned. I don't think we would have seen it. It would have just been mentioned. I had a friend killed by a transformer, like
the tragic backstory kind of thing.
Yeah. Also, when Bumblebee like accidentally like jacked himself into the power outlet,
yeah,
the Energon surge would have brought some of the appliances to life while they were still plugged in, and that's why Memo actually called Charlie home, was to deal with that and cut their power cords.
Oh.
But they cut that whole thing. One of the things that I think some people thought was new was actually in the original. The shot with Bumblebee driving over the Golden Gate Bridge with Optimus Prime.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That was there. That was just a cheeky...
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, if this movie was originally written as a prequel, it makes sense for them to have added that connective tissue in there originally.
Yeah. And there would also have been a scene with Cena, the General, and even Seymour Simmons talking about how the Autobots must not know of NBE-1, aka Megatron, and we would have apparently gotten a full shot of a G1 Megatron frozen in the ice.
Which totally doesn't matter. Which totally is weird because of...
Yeah. But also the fact that both of the post-credit scenes were not in the original cut. Even the one with Charlie even finishing and fixing her car, which, like, that was one of the best things about doing that, because, like, it actually gives that bit of the story a payoff.
Yeah.
And that was, like, one of the big things, like, I was, like, writing off her ever fixing a car because, like, she's got Bumblebee, but then when she let Bumblebee go, she, like, didn't have a car now, and, like, not only had reason to fix the car, but still was able to complete her original objective, and I loved seeing that.
Yeah. Yeah, it gives it a nice little sweet hope, brand of hope at the end.
Yes.
That's really interesting. It does. So it definitely seems like that then the rewrites were done to sort of distance themselves from the other movies, which is interesting.
Yes. Especially when people on the film keep saying it's a prequel.
Yep. I feel like at this point they're just kind of like, we'll just say whatever it is
until we decide later.
Yeah, whichever will be the best for our business strategy or whatever.
Yeah. Granted, apparently, like, marketing suggests that people don't like hearing the term reboot, but like, so this is trying to be a stealth reboot. which
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain about.
And like I hope that they make movies that are more along this line. I feel like this is definitely the way in which Transformers media should go in the future. It's because it's solid, you know. There aren't too many flaws, and it's not flagrantly bad, which is great.
Yeah. Oh yes. But overall, I have to say this was a very good movie. You were right earlier when you called it a very basic movie.
Yeah.
Like the plot is pretty straightforward, but you know what? You need that every once in a while, especially after the other movies where you can't follow the plot. This was a very good, nice film. It's still a very good, solid movie at worst, I think. It's a solid movie at worst. It's to me, it's a bit more, but again, I'm a Transformers fan, so. But you still say that is a very good movie.
Yeah, I think general audience wise, it's still good.
Yes. And I just hope there's more to come.
Yeah, me too. I really hope that this, like I said, I hope that Paramount decides to go in this direction as these movies go on. And I really hope that movies like this continue to be made, because I think that, like, because I feel like part of like what makes this movie work too is that it doesn't immediately dismiss the Transformers property as useless or dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think part of obviously it's not the largest problem with the Michael Bay movies, but one of the many problems with the Michael Bay movies is that Michael Bay treats the Transformers like just random things he's obligated to put into this movie.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't think of the Transformers as worthwhile characters in his movie.
Yeah.
He thinks of them as just, like, props for product placement.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. And, look, I'm not saying that, like, Transformer... Like, I can see why people might not like Transformers, you know? In a lot of ways, Transformers did come out as a commercial.
Yeah.
So... I'm not going to say that, like, that Transformers, like, I can't say that I blame people for thinking they're dumb on the outset, but I also feel like, I don't know, I guess I just feel like, I feel like Travis Knight took this movie and said, like, yeah, this is weird and, like, maybe a little dumb, but, like, I don't know, let's try and make something good out of it, but, like, I think Travis Knight acknowledged that there's a reason why this franchise is beloved enough to have been considered for a movie, you know?
Yes.
Like, there's a reason why people actually think that these are fun characters.
Yeah.
Like, they had to have connected on some level. There's something about this franchise that made people like it. Yeah. And I'm going to embrace that aspect of it, even if it's a little strange. And I think that Michael Bay's thought of Transformers is like, oh, this is like kid stuff. It's stupid. Like, come on, guys, let's get some beer. Like, you know.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not saying that getting beer is a bad thing, but I am saying that Michael Bay, from the movies that I've seen, doesn't really think of the Transformers as anything more than props and action set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if he had the choice, like, if he could, he probably would remove the Transformers from his movies in general.
Yeah.
You know,
or
like, if he wasn't obligated to have them in this movie because it's called Transformers, he probably would... Or he would, like, make up his own alien robot race and...
Yeah.
I don't know. It just doesn't seem like he really cares all that much about them.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. But, so it's very nice to see someone that does.
Yeah.
But I think that's all we have to say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for listening to this podcast. Alyssa, where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter at The Rational Dove. Feel free to give me a shout out there. Text me. Not text me. You don't have my number.
Yeah.
Tweet at me. There we go. That's right.
There we go.
I am relevant. Yeah. Feel free to chat me up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at SoundJack426. You better be finding me on YouTube at SoundJack426. That's how you're watching this video, right? Right?
Presumably.
Yeah. But yes, do all the good YouTube stuff, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can also support me on Patreon. That link is in the description down below. And thanks for tuning in. And this is SoundJack and Alyssa signing off.